Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is my performance review of the Nike Kyrie Low 5. So this shoe is finally available on Nike.com in the US. So if you guys do want to cop, I'll leave an affiliate link in the description box. It's available in its exact colorway, which is pretty dope. It kind of sucks that Nike US has been very slow with the releases. Like a shoe releases in China and it's out, and then it takes like 2 months 3 months for it to actually come out in the US. And that has to do with the shipping problems in China and all that, which definitely does suck, but at least it's available now, right? So again, links are below, but let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. And in this colorway, we have a solid white rubber outsole, and the actual pattern is very similar to the Kyrie Infinity pattern. It's a little bit different, but for the most part, it's more similar than not, right? And how does the traction perform? It performs extremely well. If you're playing on a clean court, you're gonna be good to go. It has a great bite, top tier bite actually. You're gonna stop on a dime. It feels like you're playing with glue and whatnot, you know, all the good stuff. So if you're playing on a clean court, you should be fine. If you're playing on a dusty court, however, it's still really good. And even if you're playing on a dusty setting, you're gonna be good to go. It picks up very minimal dust, and even when it does pick up dust, you just do a very easy and slight wipe and you're good to go. So that's very good performance on dust as well. And if you're playing on an outdoor court though, you should be careful because the rubber is super soft. It's very easily moved when I try to move it with my finger, right? So it's thin grooves. I guess the grooves are pretty deep, but you know, it's a soft rubber and the grooves are thin. So I do not recommend it for outdoor use, but if you're playing on an indoor court, you should be fine. It has top tier traction, just like, you know, every single Kyrie, and also like pretty much every single Kyrie Low has had phenomenal traction, and the Kyrie Low 5 is no exception. Alright, moving on to the heel to toe transition. It's overall very smooth, right? So here in the heel we have a nice curved shape and fully exposed midsole, and this is they just call it a soft midsole on their description, right? I'm guessing it's just a phylum, but it's actually pretty soft. There is a little bit of compression there, and so it feels soft here in the heel. And then in the forefoot we have a very nice curved shape and a lot of forefoot flex, right? And a lot of midfoot flex as well, as you guys can see. So overall, heel to toe transition is super smooth even when you're doing heel dominant strides down the court, and I had no issues with it. But one thing that I had a problem with, and I've been saying it in quite a few videos, you know, like the what's in my bag video. So the torsional support isn't the greatest in this shoe, right? And as you guys can see, like look, it's just super easily flexed here in the midfoot. And yeah, I really have no issues with like my arch hurting, you know, in like the Currys, the PGs, the Mellows. Even in the Kyrie Infinity, I don't have a lot of issues, right? And then like the Hardens and stuff, Zoom separate, like all these shoes that I really like to play in, I have no issues with. My feet are fine. But then I started playing in the Kyrie Low 5, and immediately I definitely noticed it after one game, and my left arch definitely felt very strained, and there was a lot of tension there. And there was a little bit of pain at first, and it started to gradually get like worse. So I don't know what it was. It was mostly in my left foot. My right foot was okay. So if you have a high arch or you have like arch problems, you should definitely watch out for the Kyrie Low 5. If you don't have any problems with that, then you should be fine, you know, but I don't know what it is here in the Kyrie Low 5. I don't know why it's so easily bent here, but I definitely did have an issue with that. Alright, moving on to the cushioning setup. So here in the Kyrie Low 5 is actually quite nice, right? So as far as the core feel goes, the core feel is pretty damn good. You're very low to the ground. Also, the offset didn't seem very high. It seems more like a flat offset rather than like, you know, the heel being thick and then your forefoot being low. It felt more like flat, which, you know, it all depends on preference and like what you like. I don't really mind either, you know, I either like a high offset or like a flatter offset. I don't really care. And as far as the impact protection, it's also pretty damn good, right? So here in the heel, like I said, the foam is quite soft. It's not as soft as when I first got it. It definitely did bottom out a little bit, but it's still pretty soft and I like it, and it surprised me a lot, especially for a Kyrie. So heel strikes, I was good to go. Here in the forefoot, there also is a top-loaded zoom unit, which feels great. It feels very similar to the PG3. You have a nice little compression in the forefoot. You got a nice little bounce as well, which I do like. Of course, it's not as much compression or bounce as like a Zoom Strobel unit or a Zoom Strobel unit in the forefoot, but it's, you know, it's like a nice old school forefoot Zoom unit. It has a nice blend of everything, you know, a nice little soft compression here in the heel, good impact protection, good core feel, and you'll also get that nice little bounce in the forefoot. So overall, it's a very good all-around cushioning setup in my personal opinion. It doesn't really do anything great, but it does everything pretty damn well. Alright, moving on to the material. So the material is pretty much the exact same as the Kyrie Infinity, and it's this textile material. I actually really like it. You know, as far as the quality goes, it's not the best, but it's definitely a lot better than, like, you know, shit mesh and stuff like that, which I definitely do appreciate, especially coming from Nike, right? So yeah, it's really thin, it's soft, it conforms to your foot very well, and with that, it also is pretty damn supportive, right? There's not a whole lot of stretch to it, so I really like the material here in the forefoot. And then coming here into the midfoot, it stays extremely thin. Look at that. This entire material in the forefoot and midfoot is really, really minimal, which I like. And then for the tongue, we have an adequate amount of padding. It feels nice and plush on top of your foot. Also, another interesting thing is that it's an asymmetrical design, which is weird. It doesn't really do anything. It's just, I guess, for aesthetic purposes. And also, the tongue is a half booty construction tongue, giving you an overall better one-to-one fit, and it keeps the tongue in place, which is a good thing. Most modern basketball shoes have that. And here in the ankle area, we also have, I would say, an average amount of padding. You know, it feels pretty nice. Of course, it's not as plush as the Kyrie Infinity. So overall, it feels great on foot. It's comfortable, it's minimal. And for the laces, we got flat laces, which I do prefer over like rope laces, because these flat laces just stay tied a lot easier, right? Here in the back of the heel, we have like a synthetic leather material, which isn't great for quality. And also we have this ribbed kind of like textile material as well. So overall, 110 bucks. It feels great on foot, and the quality is pretty nice. Alright, moving on to the fit, I went true to size, and my toes pretty much go right to the edge of the shoe, which is a good thing. So I suggest most people should go true to size in the shoe. But one thing that I didn't really like is the toe space, right? And I said that in the first impression, and of course, this textile material got a little bit roomier, right? And as you guys can see, like kind of like scrunches up here, right? And that's pretty interesting, just because Kyrie's, like every Kyrie that I've tried, the Kyrie Low line and also in his signature shoe line, and also the fly traps, it's always been super snug here in the toe box, and it was a perfect fit for me. But the Kyrie Low 5 for some reason is pretty roomy, which I don't like. I like to have a very snug fit in the toe box, in my personal preference. I wouldn't say it's very uncomfortable to the point where I hate the fit, like in the Jalen 2, but I definitely did notice it, you know, especially coming from like the Kyrie Infinity, the Curry 9, the Zoom Separates, which all have a very snug fit in the toe box. So when I was switching shoes, I definitely did notice it, and it was a little bit more uncomfortable. Of course, if you like to have a roomy toe box, then of course, go true to size, and you'd probably like it. I mean, if you've had a problem with the Kyries being a little too tight in the toe box in the past, the Kyrie Low 5 is probably going to be a lot better, right? So that definitely did suck for me. And now moving on to the support and lockdown, I had zero issues with support and lockdown, especially for lateral containment, right? So here in the forefoot, we have the foam coming up, acting as a sidewall. And as you guys can see, this yellow material, right? It looks like underneath this textile material, this kind of like leather material goes down to add another layer to this material for more support, but actually doesn't. You know, it feels exactly the same here as in like the top of the material. So that's kind of like, that's kind of deceiving, honestly. But either way, the foam does act as a sidewall here in the forefoot. And then here in the heel, we have a little bit of the foam coming up, and we have an internal TPU heel counter. So lateral containment, I had zero issues with. My foot was staying inside of the footbed. It was just moving around a little bit here in the toe box, but the fit is quite narrow. So I wasn't moving around like this way all too much, but it was moving around inside of the shoe, kind of like twisting inside of the shoe a little bit, just because the toe box was a little bit roomy, right? But that didn't really have anything to do with the support of the actual shoes, just the fit, right? And also for lateral stability, I had zero issues with either. As you guys can see, the outsole does protrude out a little bit, not a whole lot. Even still, I didn't really have any issues with lateral instability, which of course is a good thing. Also, another thing I forgot to mention is the outsole curvature, or lack thereof, right? So we do have the outsole coming up on the side here, so you have more grip when you're doing these types of movements, right? But there's really no crazy outsole curvature. It's more of a flat shape, which Of course, I don't like, even the MB1 has way more outsole curvature, and like in the Kyrie 2, the Kyrie 3, and the Kyrie 4, there's a lot more outsole curvature. Like the outsole starts to curve from like right here, right? But in the past couple of Kyries, all the Kyrie lows, and also like from like the Kyrie 5 or 6, it's been more of a flat design, which I definitely do miss, and I wish they would bring it back as far as the crazy outsole curvature goes. But it's still a nice design because it still is rounded here where the ball of your foot is, right? But anyways, there's the support and lockdown. Of course, this is a low top, so you're not gonna get any type of ankle support, but like I said, lateral stability was good. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. If I remember correctly, it was light, and it feels extremely light. I'm guessing like 10-11 ounces. Yeah, 10.93 ounces. Let's check the other pair. 11.01. So it's just 11 ounces, right? And 11 ounces is extremely light. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So 11 ounces definitely is very, very light. And it feels extremely light and minimal on foot. Like I said, it has pretty minimal padding. I guess the tongue has an average amount of padding, which does feel nice and plush, but the overall material is very minimal, and there's no bulk really at all in this shoe. The only problem I had was the fit here in the forefoot, right? My foot would move a little bit inside and kind of twist and turn a little bit. So that did make the shoe a little bit less responsive than I would have wanted. But like I said, it wasn't terrible. And overall, it's a really responsive shoe. The traction is great, the cushion is responsive. You get that nice little bounce from the forefoot zoom unit, and I had really no issues with the support or anything. So yeah, you're gonna feel very quick and light on your feet in the Kyrie Low 5. All right, moving on to the ventilation. Ventilation is very good, right? So through this textile material, like I said, this material is extremely thin, and there's a good amount of airflow. You don't really see any type of crazy ventilation holes, but air does go through this material pretty well. So the overall ventilation of the Kyrie Low 5 is pretty good. All right, moving on to the aesthetics. I like it. It's definitely not my favorite though. I think the 4 and also the 3 look a little bit better, but the 5 still looks pretty good. And I'm excited to see the colorways that we have in store for the Kyrie Low 5. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, it's a Kyrie Low model, and it definitely feels like a Kyrie Low model, you know what I mean? And just like most Kyries, it has great traction. Cushion is more on the responsive side, but also I would say the Kyrie Low 5 has the best cushion just because the foam is way softer than all of his past models. And the forefoot zoom unit, for some reason, is also a lot easier to feel than his other shoes as well. So I definitely think the Kyrie Low 5 is a nice upgrade. It does everything very, very well that all the other Kyrie Lows have done, but with better cushion and I guess better quality materials. It still has great traction and all that, right? The only thing is the fit here in the forefoot. And like I said, it wasn't a huge deal. It wasn't to the point where I hated the fit or anything. It was just more of an inconvenience, right? So I feel like most people will enjoy the Kyrie Low 5. If you're a guard and you want a low top shoe that feels very responsive and lightweight, this is a great option. Also, if you're a big guy, I feel like you would like this as well. Support's great, traction is really, really good, and the cushion overall is pretty damn nice with the softer foam and all that. So anyways, that about concludes my review of the Kyrie Low 5. It is a great performer. It'll definitely be in my rotation. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I'll leave an affiliate link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.